development around the Diddy as we're following this case very closely here on Live Now Fox, as Diddy's lawyers say the events raided his jail cell and seized a bunch of privileged materials. Lawyers are claiming that it violates his Fourth Amendment right. However, inmates don't have Fourth Amendment expectation of privacy in prison, so that argument is green guards can search his cell without probable cause or a warrant.
The hip-hop mogul, who is currently facing legal challenges, has recently made headlines for his outrage over reports that federal authorities are spying on him in his prison cell. He claims that his privacy is being violated in a way that goes beyond standard prison surveillance, and he is frustrated by the intrusive nature of the monitoring, which he claims is being used to undermine his rights and manipulate his legal defense. Discussions concerning the morality of monitoring in the criminal justice system and how to strike a balance between security and individual liberties have been spurred by the controversy.
And the FBI, they just raided his jail cell. Now, this really pisses defense attorneys off because clearly they've gathered evidence that's going to make it a lot harder for them to do their jobs, because he was in there writing notes, probably potentially to send out third party to other people to have them continue intimidating witnesses. Keep in mind that all of this comes right on the heels of them having recorded jail phone calls of him using other people's phone accounts to be able to contact people and have them contact witnesses. All of this is super illegal to do. And now his attorneys are claiming that some of the stuff that they took was actually covered under attorney-client privilege. Basically, if you have communications between you and your attorney, they're not allowed to touch that. But the FBI has already countered with the fact that they have a private, objective third party that's gone through and made sure that that's not anything that they're looking.
Mark Agnifilo, Diddy's attorney, accused federal prosecutors of violating Diddy's constitutional rights during a recent prison cell search. In an emergency court hearing held in New York on Tuesday, Diddy's legal team is pushing for the dismissal of his trafficking case, citing alleged prosecutorial error. The defense argues that the prosecutor's mistakes could result in the case being invalidated, raising serious concerns about the integrity of the ongoing legal proceedings.
Well, Steve and Natasha, if there was any doubt, it's all gone now that the pressure is mounting and the stakes are getting higher in this federal sex trafficking case against Sean Diddy Combs. This afternoon, we received a last-minute notice from the U.S. Attorney's Office saying that there would be an emergency hearing right here at the federal courthouse at 500 Pearl Street, and new allegations, but this time being made by Diddy's defense against prosecutors. Diddy's defense team slammed prosecutors for what they say was a violation of attorney-client privilege.
Agnifilo maintained that the seizure was a total institutional failure and called the cell search a pretext for Target Diddy. He clarified that the documents contained a list of items that raised questions due to their contentious nature, as well as handwritten notes with instructions for his legal defense.
Today, just a little bit ago, Mark Agnifilo, his expert lawyer, filed paperwork with this same judge accusing the feds of wrongdoing. They claim that Puff's civil rights were violated after his jail cell was recently raided and a bunch of materials were taken from that. Materials that his lawyer claimed were attorney-client privilege.
He claims that this list included directives for a family member to gather information about 2 suspected victims, and that some of the confiscated documents were private. Pages full of motivational sayings Diddy had penned for himself. These notes were not only exclusive, but also essential to Mr. Combs' capacity to present a convincing defense. Agnifilo claimed that this violation compromises the integrity of this case and infringes upon his constitutional rights.
But Mark, his lawyer, says lots of personal items were seized, including messages between Diddy and his lawyers. In other words, items that were subject to attorney-client privilege. Handwritten notes to his lawyers concerning defense witnesses and defense strategies, which were absolutely privileged. The attorney argues that taking them violates Diddy's 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments.
Since we don't yet have all the facts to decide on the appropriate course of action, the defense offered a number of potential remedies during the hearing for the alleged misconduct, including dismissing the indictment completely or firing the current prosecution team to ensure fairness in the proceedings. Judge Aaron Submania recognized the seriousness of the defense's claims and issued a preliminary order directing the prosecution to permanently destroy all copies of the seized documents, even though ANIF recognized that the breach was severe.
There was an emergency hearing called this afternoon at the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, the judge ordering the prosecution to turn over its findings from a jail cell raid, Diddy's jail cell.
The debate centers on Diddy's cell sweep on October 28 at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, where he has been detained since his arrest on September 17.19 pages of notes, some reportedly including sensitive information, were confiscated by federal investigators. Notes exchanged between Diddy and his legal team about defense tactics for his impending trial were later given to prosecutors, which infuriated the defense team, who contend that this violation of confidentiality might seriously affect the fairness of Diddy's trial.
Violation of Diddy's 4th Amendment constitutional right against unreasonable searches and seizures. It all goes back to that raid by the FBI, DEA, and other agencies on the Metropolitan Detention Center, known as MDC, in late October. That's where Diddy has been locked down.
In order to ascertain whether prosecutorial misconduct had occurred, the judge ordered an immediate investigation into the circumstances surrounding the cell search, emphasizing that any misuse of privileged material could have serious repercussions, such as lengthy delays or even the dismissal of charges. The case has become even more complicated due to the timing of the defense's discovery of the claimed infringement. Almost a month after the raid, Agnifilo told the court the defense didn't find out until last Friday that the prosecution had access to the documents they had taken. This delay has led to doubts about whether the prosecution purposefully kept information from the defense.
According to the defense, they're legal documents. The government's saying no, on the contrary, they're just some handwritten notes and a calendar. And what the judge did, Judge Subramanian, is he ordered the prosecution to destroy their copies. He kept copies, and he's going to review them in chambers or in camera. And one of two things will happen. Either the defense is right, and those are privileged materials, in which case they will not go to the prosecution, or the prosecution is right and they have nothing to do with the legal case, and the government will get copies. It's only 20 pages. I don't think it'll take the judge that long, but I think the media is reporting this as some huge win for the defense because the government has to destroy their copies.
In order to determine how serious the violation was and what it might signify for the case, the defense team is investigating the occurrence. The attorney representing Mark Agnifilo Diddy has vowed to hold anyone accountable for infringing on Diddy's legal rights. Diddy is being charged with major offenses such as trafficking, racketeering, and transporting individuals for unlawful purposes.
Combs was arrested on Monday, months after federal agents raided his homes. He also faces several civil lawsuits accusing him of sexual assault over the past few decades.
Diddy has maintained his innocence and rejected all charges since his arrest in September. His trial is set to start in May 2025.
Developing at 5, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs back inside a federal courtroom here in New York.
All right, a trial date's now been set for May 5th next year. Lisa Evers live in Lower Manhattan with the very latest today. Lisa.
Well, Stephen, Natasha, this was Sean Diddy Combs' third time in the courthouse you see right behind me, his first time before a new judge. They did handle these calendar matters and also set that May 5th, 2025 date for the trial to be.
This appearance will probably shed more light on the case as the May trial date draws near, and any updates on the accusations of racketeering and trafficking. Observers will be interested to watch how Diddy and his legal team handle the difficulties that lie ahead in the meantime.
The U.S. judge has ruled that the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial on federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges in May. He'll be held in prison until then. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges that he used his business empire to transport women and male sex workers across state lines to take part in recorded sexual performances. If convicted, he could face a life sentence.
And this is the 4th attempt and fourth different package that his attorneys have put together. And actually, I think this time they have a pretty strong argument, multiple arguments for why they should let him out now. Some things, though, remain the same. As in previous attempts to get Diddy out on bail, his team has proposed a $50 million package. Additionally, and I cannot believe that Diddy agreed to this, he, if released on these terms, has volunteered for substance abuse testing, meaning to see if he has any hugs in his system. His family visits will be monitored by security, and he will have round-the-clock security to make sure that he isn't attempting to influence the case in any way, such as intimidating potential witnesses. Additionally, Diddy has agreed to not have access to the internet or cell phone.
Legal professionals question, given the complexity of the case, the presence of several minor victims needs a comprehensive investigation to assure their security and believability, which sometimes prolongs the judicial process. P. Diddy's trial is set to take place in May as planned.
There's no way this trial ain't gonna happen in May?
It's unlikely, especially if there's a superseding indictment involving minors, because minors present a completely different set of circumstances. Because we know through his lawyers, Combs is arguing that the sexual activity happened, but it was consensual. Of course, for sex trafficking, you need one of those three elements: force, fraud, or coercion. Obviously, minors cannot consent to any sexual activity, so that would be a very different defense entirely. The defense would have to be that the activity, it didn't happen at all, and the individuals are lying. So I think that's going to be the potential game changer if we do get the minors wrapped up into a superseding indictment. And we know, at least if you believe the civil attorneys, there are 25 minor victims, one of which is as young as 9.
His lawyers argue that the government's case is thin, meaning his team must believe that the feds don't have enough evidence. Additionally, they are arguing that he is not getting a fair trial because of where he is currently housed. He's currently at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, and his lawyers claim the MDC lacks the resources to help Diddy view the voluminous video and photographic evidence in the case in order to build his defense.
The involvement of minors as victims creates new legal challenges, such as figuring out whether they can testify and putting safeguards in place to protect their identities and welfare. Courts also have to handle delicate processes to reduce trauma, such as using closed testimony or remote appearances.
For decades, Sean Combs, the defendant, abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice here.
I think I made my point clear. So if child welfare come in here in 30 minutes, that's on y'all. My kid is downstairs. 15 minutes, the kids have to go. Thank you very much.
120 victims have come forward with complaints against Diddy, according to fresh results in the ongoing court case. This substantial number of claims might have a big impact on the proceedings and put further pressure on Diddy and his legal team.
As I said, our law firms have been retained by 120 individuals at this point to pursue cases in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs. You should know, in this group, it is evenly divided between males and females. There are 60 males and 60 females.
The case has taken an unsettling turn, with reports suggesting that in addition to women and men, the list of alleged victims includes youngsters as young as 9 years old.
Against Sean P. Diddy Combs. A Texas attorney says he now represents, get this, 120 alleged victims, male and female, adults and children, whose allegations span more than 30 years. The accounts of the alleged victims have not been fully vetted, but their claims involve drug-fueled sexual assaults similar to what the feds described in their criminal indictment of the music mogul. Diddy's currently sitting in a federal jail awaiting trial on sex trafficking, racketeering, and conspiracy charges. He pleaded not guilty to all charges, and his attorney once again stated that his client emphatically denies any claim that he sexually abused anyone, end quote. Here's the bottom line. He looked for bail once, couldn't get it. Looked for it twice, couldn't get it.
According to reports, the defense is now confident in this case, since Chan's lawyer Mark Aglio has stated that he will do everything in his power to defend his client.
So this was the first step. We have a bail appeal scheduled for tomorrow at 3:30 in front of Judge Carter, the district judge assigned to this case. I think that we made the points that we've been wanting to make. I think it came out. Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent. He came to New York to establish his innocence. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government said in their presentation today.
Please share your opinions in the comments section below on Diddy's case and the accusations made against him.